afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
All right, so let's try it again. RTD Live Talk, back at you once again. I apologize for the inconvenience and the disruption. I was in the middle of actually the last call for a good little portion of time and didn't know we weren't streaming. And so as always, if you guys haven't noticed, and whenever the talk get really good, for some reason out of nowhere, there's an interruption. Not on my part. You know, I think my equipment is fairly stable and everything's good on my side, but it is what it is. So with that being the case, I want to get back on here real quick and just find out what's on your mind. I had a great caller with some questions, and I had a chance to speak with him directly. So for the most part, off air. So didn't know that we were not streaming. But with that being the case, welcome back to RTD Live Talk. Feel free to give me a call, 1-833-LIVE-RTD. And we get a couple more questions on here. And just get back to normal, man. Keep it going as normal. So with that being the case, let me get back into the chat. I got this old chat still up. I'm looking at the chat and no one's responding, so I'm thinking I'm by myself. So, okay, yeah. So we're starting over again. Apologize for that. And so, what else we got going on? It says you were streaming, but you were still in the old chat. Okay, but I couldn't see myself, so wasn't sure what chat. I didn't have this correct chat up, so the stream ended on my part. It says we heard the caller. Okay, it says hi everyone. No worries. We still love you. Okay, appreciate that. Agreed, Tony. And so, with that being the case, let's just dive right into where I left off at, and then I got a couple articles here I want to pull up in reference to tomorrow. And this Oval Office live stream, for the most part, a national television broadcast. And this is also, even during the video last night, I mentioned how we can expect some type of interruption via the, not interruption, but from the State of the Union address, of which we were supposed to get the update on the new State of the Union in that, but it looks like we might get 2 for 1 in January. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello? Anybody there? Going once, going twice. All right, feel free to give me a call back, and we will get you on here. And so I want to hear your thoughts as to what do you expect to hear tomorrow. Will it be solely about the wall, or will our president veer off course and shine a little light into the government shutdown and some of the things that he will not stand for, and probably we can expect a little bit. I anticipate calling out the name of a few people as far as his own constituents in the Senate, and calling them out basically by name as to being people that's the reason why he's holding up, and they're the reason also for this government shutdown. So I wonder what names there will be. But hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland.
Tony, how you doing, my friend? Appreciate you calling. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm good, man. I was going to stay off the phone, but seems like you hanging up on everybody. I might as well get hung up on too.
I apologize, man. No, just once again, I thought I was talking and it died on my end, but somebody said I was streaming live still, so I wasn't sure. So, but what's on your mind?
It's all good, brother.
How you doing?
I just want to talk about this shutdown.
Okay, go ahead.
It's I don't think it's about the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think that I go back to Venezuela again.
Yeah.
I think Trump is actually shutting down the Bush-Clinton cartel in the Mexico coming across the border, and opened up a new one in White House South in Florida. I mentioned that once before, but nobody seems to be wanting to listen.
Yeah.
I'm aware that he might be using H.R. 5515. It's the John McCain National Security Act.
Okay.
In order to get this thing passed. And, of course, it gives him the checkbook, too.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this HR 5155 up. Okay, so I can, get a look at that. Okay, so HR 5155, it says undo sabotage and expand affordability of Health Insurance Act of 2018. And it's so that,
Mike.
Yeah.
5515.
I5, okay.
All right. Where's
All right, so say it again. H.
R.
Yep.
5515.
15. Okay, because I saw sabotage. I'm like, okay. Here we go.
Now,
HR 5515 by John S. McCain, looks like. Okay.
Correct.
National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. Okay. All right, so go ahead, expound on this a little bit for us.
yeah, it looks like it's already been enacted when they passed the law last year. Everybody was looking at John McCain and state, and they snuck this one in on us. And from the looks of it, and I hadn't dug through the whole thing, but it looks like that the only job there's going to be is a military job. And that sounds like a World War I thing. Conspiracy theorists will say that Trump's going down there this Thursday to the border.
Yeah.
And that's really close to the 119, or in reverse, 9/11.
Yeah.
And something that don't let a good crisis go to waste. So expect something on that day. But I think that he's going down there to shut off the Clintons, the Clinton and Bush drug trade down in Mexico, because the cartel has gotten too raunchy, too out of hand, and started over in Florida. Everything will come out of Colombia. If you just listen to the way he's talking, what he's doing. He's setting up a new drug trade out of Colombia heading into Florida, but they got to take Venezuela out in order to keep this thing flowing, because some of it will be coming from Brazil with the new president there and a new president in Colombia.
Yeah,
Mexico ain't having it. They're trying to clean up their stuff, and we just need to keep an eye on Venezuela and what Trump is doing with them.
Yeah.
There was an article, and I can't remember what newspaper ran it, but you knew that Trump told us that we couldn't do anything with Venezuela. But it seems how when Venezuela just started a new oil on the market, and there's a governor or senator in Florida that's a big part of the deal.
Okay, so I saw something earlier about Venezuela making some moves in the oil sector, but didn't dive into it. So just looking over this HR 5515, one of the things that stood out says a bill authorizes appropriations to the Department of Defense for 1, procurement, including helicopters, combat vehicles, weapons, aircraft, shipping and building and conversion, and missiles, research, development, tests, evaluations, and operations and maintenance. So this is full-fledged, as you mentioned, military, and it was enacted last year as of May for this year. So this is very interesting because, John McCain is no longer with us, but his bill is here to stay. And so, this will be something to look into further, definitely, my friend. That is interesting.
I mean, put it out there, man. I don't want anybody to be fooled by this, with how they say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
But let's all look into this a little deeper and keep our eyes open, man.
Yeah, definitely. I just posted the link in the chat there if anybody want to dive into it further. So, Tony, man, appreciate you sharing that, man. That's some good stuff there.
All right, brother. I ain't going to keep you. I know there's other people want to talk.
All right, appreciate you. Have a good night. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, man. Good stuff as always. Appreciate you sharing that. So, let's get back on track a little bit. I feel like, I was thrown a little curveball in reference to the internet being up or down or not streaming, whatever happened. So, let's get back into what's going on. So, tomorrow night, let me hear some more thoughts. As to what we can expect from this Oval Office address. And so, of course, I believe we've all come to the conclusion that the wall is just a cover-up or a front for the underlying subject matter. And so, as I mentioned from the video last night about the things that we aren't ready to hear about, and then we had someone mention Red Cross earlier, and then we had Tone mention the Department of Defense and some of the activities for war coming out of Arizona area, something of that nature, and the drug trade. And so we all know that, as Trump hinted yesterday, human trafficking, drugs, gang activity, and those things that we aren't ready to hear. Those 4 things is what he hinted at. And I think the 4th one is the most important one, because it's those things that I believe that he's going to tomorrow. This is what I'm expecting. So I'm going to get into what I think and what I'm going to be listening for tomorrow. And this is one thing. This is a benefit. This is the benefit of having a political figure, i.e. our president, who for the most part speaks off the top of his mind, who doesn't follow the narrative of speaking off 2 teleprompters, one on the left, one on the right, and just talking to the teleprompter this way and then talking this way and reading off a teleprompter from what I've gathered so far. So he speaks off the top of his mind for the most part, and in doing so, he's not able to maintain the written speech format that most political figures would receive from their, campaign contributors or whoever writes their speeches to give you this whole, good feeling type of vibe. And so he more so keeps it real talk, as I like to put it. And so in speaking real, he's able to drop some type of sudden hidden message that I like to look into. And so I'm anticipating tomorrow a couple of things. I'll get to those right now. I'm anticipating him throwing out the names of a few individuals that he's going to use as the Democratic gets me every time. Man. Thing startles to me every time. Oh my goodness. Anyway, got a call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Casey from Dallas, Texas.
Casey from Dallas, Texas. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
I'm sorry. Can you say it again?
I'm sorry. Your name's Casey. You're from Dallas. What's on your mind this evening?
Yeah. I got a few questions.
All right, go ahead.
One, how do you see, what do you see in the future? Do you see a currency crisis, or do you see a deflationary crisis like we had in 2008?
I believe that we're going to see a deflationary type of environment, or crisis rather. And then as a response to that, the deflation aspect will look like, house prices drop, stock market drop. There will be a freeze up of credit. And then based upon that event that occurs, whatever it might be that leads to that correction in the markets, then there's going to be some monetary policy interjection of liquidity that will then lead to some type of inflationary type of environment. And based upon other things that happen around us, other countries, once they turn on the printing press or start the easing process, it's going to be hard to reel in inflation. And ultimately down the line, like every currency around us and 99.9 of the prior fiat currencies not backed by anything, always tend to end in a very hyperinflationary type of event. And so that's kind of what I anticipate for the Federal Reserve note in the days ahead.
Do you see the IMF bailing out the Federal Reserve with the SDR?
No, that's Jim Rickards' approach a couple years ago, even though I think he changed that narrative a little bit. And so the IMF, the SDR, those baskets or whatever, those currencies they're still paper denominated, whatever you call them. And so there's very little gold in their reserves. And apart from the introduction of some type of blockchain, crypto type of situation, I don't think the IMF is able to actually, bail out central banks other than issuing more paper units or whatever that I guess, the central banks might have to fall for. But I don't see that being a viable option to restore confidence back into the economy here, especially if there's a dollar situation or a Federal Reserve note situation. And so that will be the best attempt to save the central banking. But what about our government will be the next response? How will they, be able to, who's going to lend them money and how they're going to issue currency or whatnot will be a situation where I don't think the IMF can even touch that. So that leads into the whole global reset aspect of there being some new either world reserve currency issued or some gold back or gold pegging type of situation that comes about down the line.
Now, the reason why I see the IMF and all that stuff, from what I understand, I'm not as savvy as you when it comes to this economics. So what I understand is what they can do with the SDR is the free market's not going to determine the value of the dollar, the way how they use the manipulation of the IMF. Yeah. From what I understand, what they can do, they can say one SDR is worth $15 or $20, and assuming I think the IMF has the fourth largest gold reserves. Let's say for the sake of argument, let's just say they use $1 trillion or 1 trillion SDRs to bail out the Federal Reserve, that'd be equivalent to 10 trillion US dollars. And, and I see something like that going on. And now, I also got a question to you. What do you see? Do you see any sort of cash flow? Do you think a person uses cash flow in the coming crisis? One thing like that is right now you can purchase a house and have somebody rent it out, and that's one way of cash flow or dividends. Do you see any sort of cash flow in a hyperinflation environment?
Okay. So there's two things. I want to answer that question there. With my opinion, this is all my opinion, of course. I want to answer that question, but then go back to that gold aspect of IMF holding gold and being able to peg to the dollar. See, as of now, the IMF does not have the authority from the United States government to issue or to do any type of financial ordeals on our behalf. So I don't see that being an option. And then I'm not sure about that gold situation on IMF having gold, but I do believe China and Russia, who have been positioning themselves to be the leaders of this next monetary system, to probably step up to bat with some type of gold pegged or gold backed or something or another, predominantly out of China. Hence what's been happening over the last 10 years with all the formation of the BRICS organization, the AIIB, currency swap to gold, yuan futures. So all those things right there are coming out of China. So I believe China might have more of a say-so in what the world might have to use as an international medium of exchange, because China, once again, everything is made in China for now. So in order to do business with them, I think we're going to have to respect whatever solution they bring to the table. So that would be my thoughts on that. And then now in reference to cash flow, in a currency environment, I put yourself in a situation of Venezuela. They're going through hyperinflation right now, 1 million % as of 2018, might be more this year. And so having real estate or whatnot, if it's owned outright, then it's yours, sure. But in that case, there in Venezuela, they can actually confiscate your land in a type of crisis situation. But yet, cash flow, if the currency is no good, the tenants more than likely might not be employed, may not have enough money to keep the bills and things flowing towards your way. So there may not be no cash flow you want to receive from that. So there's alternative ways of having people tender, currency to you. But if it's a cash crisis, as you hinted at, I don't think the cash will be worth much for you even to really have anything to preserve purchasing power with. So you may not even want to receive cash in the event of some type of cash situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This quick question: how do you see yourself, surviving through this crisis?
This crisis? Good question there, man. And so I'm amongst everybody else, apart from the fact that I share my opinion and my thoughts, and I've become very passionate about the subject matter. And how I even arrived here was from having, traveled a little bit and experienced life in various countries, the cost of living, the currency issues they've had. And one thing I've noticed is that the people who actually had tangible goods and services, i.e. I have, some friends down in Argentina, and they've been dealing with currency issues forever, but yet in talking with the family and being there and seeing things, they have their wealth in tangible, assets. They own real estate. They actually own properties. They have, land. They have all types of things that are true wealth. And so they're doing fine overall, even though their currency is not doing that well. But yet I see myself in the same situation there. The more things that I own outright, the better I be. The less money I owe to any individual. And the more, as I always mention it, the more assets I have that will be sponges as far as absorbing some of this liquidity that might be coming down the line, hence some type of hyperinflationary environment. Metals tend to always, based upon history, have to always preserve purchasing power. And in preserving that, having preserved purchasing power will put you in a better situation. When the smoke clears, you'll be able to have an item or two to utilize to exchange and get back into the economy a little bit. A lot better than just holding solely digits and paper in your possession, apart from the intervention of, cryptocurrency and however that might fit into things down the line. But that's another subject, though. But other than that, we're all going to experience a change in paradigm along the way and just a shift in our standards of living. And that's all things we can expect, and some are experiencing right now.
How do you think people that aren't paying attention to it are going to react towards it? Do you think it's going to be this way? Do you think it's going to be like a 1970s sort of currency crisis that we had, or do you think it's going to be straight up Venezuela?
It's going to be. I can't say I can't predict the future, but based upon having heard about the 70s, I wasn't around like that to experience it. But from what I've heard and what I've seen in regards to hyperinflation environments around us, I think that it's going to start off slow. It's going to be a crash, which is going to be deflationary. And then there's going to be an injection from our governments and the central bank to come up with some solutions to the problems they created, which is going to spike inflation. Then it's going to get out of hand. That's where things are going to go downhill. It could be fast. It could be slow. Don't know. But, I can't predict the future and how things play out. But I can, based upon history, say that the Federal Reserve note will be a currency that, the world will lose confidence in first, as they're doing now. And then citizens last will find out that it's not the cost of goods going up. It's the lack of ability to purchase goods and services with the currency that they've only known their entire lives to be the real problem. So at the end of the day, I think there's going to be some type of currency issued here in our country here, and unfortunately, it's going to be some type of digital, crypto, blockchain type of situation. And so I don't see metals are coming back into circulation as far as money, because that'll be problematic. It'll take away control from the central authorities, which they don't want to lose that. So they're going to issue some type of government-backed coin or some crap like that. So it's going to be chaotic as hell, I can imagine, based upon what happens all around us. And if you think about it, majority of the population has no clue as to what's going on. So they stand to lose the most. And so what happens if you wake up one day and your bank account says, it's zeros, or you can't withdraw anything, you're going to hit the streets. And then that's when things going to get violent. So, but got some more calls here, but I appreciate you calling and sharing your thoughts, my friend.
Thank you so much, man.
All right, have a good one. Yeah, man, that's good stuff. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Pat. How you doing, my friend? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. And I want you to know I got that evil captain behind lock and key tonight.
You got Captain locked up. Okay. What's in your mind?
The last time I called you, I related a movie.
Okay.
It was 1968, and the name of the movie was Network.
Yeah, and so
at any rate,
I went
right along.
I went and did my homework. I looked it up, and I actually pulled that clip about, I'm sick and tired of it. That clip you referred to, I pulled that out. It was like a little 1.5 minute clip, and I put it on social media. And so I thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Hey, that's fine. Sorry, I was talking to the captain that night, and I didn't have my facts on the rope.
It's all good.
But I got something going on here.
Okay.
We're all hooked on depression, no money around.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, inflation, hyperinflation. All the scared little rabbits and sheep are looking for that. Now, what are they going to do to us?
Now,
think about that one.
Now, who are they? Who are they? Who's the they part?
The government and the banks who are setting us up.
Yeah. What are they going to do to us? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're all hooked on one note here. We're Johnny One Note running around.
Yeah.
Depression, super hyper inflation. What are they really going to do to us? If they want the common man to know this and to run around and prepare for this, they always hit us from the side with something else.
Yeah.
And what can that be?
I mean, just in hearing you, set that up, first thing came to mind was war. And so, either to slow down this monetary restructuring where the dollar is rejected and we are exposed Uncle Sam is exposed for not having any more faith and credit and being able to borrow anymore. And so we need to go to war. And then that automatically creates the illusion of economic activity because you got to spend money on personnel, military goods, and the whole war drum beat can be one. Or depending upon what's happening right now in this current government shutdown, however this unfolds, we can probably witness some type of this government shutdown definitely does not lead to other nations having confidence in our government's ability to make payments on the national debt that they owe, just the payments, as well as to be able to structurally come into agreement on how they're going to govern this country from here on out, because the world sees that Trump is hated and he's not playing by the regular routine script that most political figures have to, and they are obliged to do so by. And so with that being the case, I think this year we're going to really see some unraveling of what kind, don't know. But as we all are aware of, the banking sector, where everything is pretty much held together via the monetary base, as far as the fractional reserve lending and all the fictitious numbers out there, the banking sector will be it could be the reason why things do go under once people realize there's nothing in the bank accounts.
Well, I hear somebody dialing you, but I got to say this.
Yeah.
The warriors are about tired of fighting.
Yeah.
The people are about tired of paying taxes and seeing all this fighting.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Trump tomorrow speaking. And here's the key phrase: unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Now, what's that guy going to talk about? Is he going to talk about SNAP? Is he going to talk about the border? Or what? I think it's all gonna fold in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and
but
so
that's what you're worried about, is unintended consequences.
That's a good point there, man. I didn't think about it from that point and that angle there, but I appreciate you for mentioning that, because as a result of this, whatever decisions will be made tomorrow and moving forward, it's not going to be thought out, because this is all, the Democratic Republic, House, presidency, whatever, all this is colliding now, and they're not thinking about the long-term consequences to what this is going to do to the population as well as to the world. So, because the world's watching, and so I can imagine a lot of other governments were like, hey, we can't, those Americans over there, they're not on the same page there. Perhaps we might not need to invest and fund their mess over there by buying those bonds and treasuries or whatever they usually do to fund us. So that's good. It's going to be a problem.
We're led to believe that Donald Trump is surrounded by generals and telling what he's got to say. And Donald Trump himself came from a finishing school that was a military academy, of which you'll never hear one talk badly about the other. That was one of their military things. But this guy, he's looking forward. He's got a looking glass. He sees these unintended consequences that me and you hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you talk to some other people. I think the world of you.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Take care of yourself.
I will. You do the same, buddy. Have a good evening.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, man. Unintended consequences will be the result of all this, because once again, and so here's an analogy I thought of earlier when I saw that original post, which is right here, about Trump wanting to address the nation directly. This is not the actual post, but I can't find it now, but it was from the New York Times, and they said that Trump wants to address the public directly about the wall and the shutdown. And then during that whole article, it mentioned that he was not going to allow the press into the White House or something of that nature, but he wants to stream it live during prime time. And so that being the case, that's a impromptu, something that can't be controlled apart from the on and off switch of them streaming whatever he says live, which can be off the top of his head, which most likely, like it always is, of which he's going to say some things that I think, as always, he's going to drop some nuggets on what the who, why, and what to the real government shutdown is what's happening and it's not the wall. And so I believe he's going to call out some names tomorrow. So I'm expecting to hear 3 or 4 or 5 political figures that he's going to call out as being the blame for why this is prolonged and why he's not going to budge on the wall, and why tomorrow he might end up actually somehow, some way calling a national emergency, hence however that lays out, and basically saying that, I have funds, I'm going to pull money from here, pull from here, pull from here. We're going to start this wall. When I go down on Thursday, I'm going to take a shovel and take the first dig, and we're going to start this wall because I've extracted these emergency funds from here. We're going to get this thing done, and then what you're going to do. And then, to Pat's point about unintended consequences, he rolls out some type of off-the-cuff, out of this world, emergency stimulus package or something from executive order. How do you think the Congress is going to respond from that? So they're going to holler impeachment, they're going to holler treason, they're going to holler something, and then there's going to be some side effects from that where I think it's going to get out of hand because, man. So the analogy I came up with earlier was that right now, in my opinion, we're witnessing what I consider a political game of chess. And I was trying to think of like warfare chess or whatever, but a political game of chess. One side is Trump and his administration, his agenda. On the other side, we can elaborate on who controls, who runs, but the front line of both sides are the American public. So right now we have Trump behind the right side, and then we have Nancy Pelosi and everybody else on her side behind the left side, and they're strategizing using the pawns of the American public as well as the world to try to achieve a goal that I don't really think is operating in the best interest of our nation, to be honest with you, with this wall, because I think this wall is just a cover for the real situation here. But once again, there's going to be casualties to this warfare chess game going on between the White House and Nancy Pelosi and all the establishment-backed individuals on that side of the political realm. So that being the case, I expect more unintended consequences, which will equal casualties of mass amounts. Hence the idea of this next article I'm about to get into. And this has to do with some casualties of this whole government shutdown. It says Indiana grocery store can't process food stamp payments due to government shutdown. So here we have a picture of some people in front of, whatever it might be, protesting. It says, if people are getting this restless already, what will happen? What looks like when tens of millions of Americans are suddenly cut off from their primary source of food money. And so, unintended consequences. Here we have casualties of this political warfare that's happening in D.C. And so we're going to have millions of people who are going to go swipe an EBT card. And when our card gets declined, that's going to be the first line of people to hit the streets. And we know what happened in the inner city when one knucklehead gets out of hand, breaks a glass, cities come burning down. And so I anticipate some type of, as they have right now in France with the French, with the yellow vest in France right now, because of the increase in gas prices amongst unemployment and all the other issues the French are arguing about. These are ideal conditions for a yellow vest movement of some kind here in the United States as a result of this shutdown, if these EBT cards get declined in a couple of weeks. But that's just my thoughts there, so I'm going to stop ranting and let you guys talk. So as always, people, feel free to give me a call. We got a couple more minutes and we're going to dial back just because it's been late. This is like the second stream or whatever happened because we got disconnected the first time. So take a couple more calls and then that's going to be it for this evening. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tim from Colorado.
Tim, how you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
Not too much. I just wanted to thank you again for your podcast, and you have great callers and the people in the chatter. And what's it feel like to live in a real movie, a real live movie where your body's on the line?
I mean, Tim, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, the first thought coming to mind is it's two sides to the equation. It's all based upon, as I always go back to, it's all based upon your faith, depending on whose side you're on and what you believe in the end, and who you belong to. Can give you some peace through all that. So apart from the fact that the uncertainty leaves me a little bit uneasy, but at the end of all this, being a believer in Christ, I believe I'm good regardless. So whether it's in this life or the next, so I believe everything's gonna work out just fine, according to my faith. So I'm not all shooken up or whatever, but more so interested to see how this unfolds, because I'm more interested in more of the public coming to the light in regards to what is really happening on their behalf that they had no clue about, especially dealing with, our currency. So this is what I'm looking forward to finding out, and having more people come to the truth, that the fact that this is all one big illusion.
Mike, you do a great job at it, because I listen to your callers. These aren't exactly graduate students calling in talking technically to you about currency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm very, very impressed. That means that we are waking up as a civilization or humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you this, because you're a lot more up on scripture than I am, okay? Mm-hmm. But there's supposed to be let's say these are bad terms, but Antichrist or don't be fooled when he shows up.
Right.
I think they're going to have a super big event, and it's going to be staged. It's going to be a whole false flag means people really die. Hoax means it never really happened, like the Gulf of Tonkin, okay?
Yeah.
So let's say they fake all this shit, right? And we have a bunch of like tactical nuclear grid down, whatever. But aliens, because they got some weird stuff going on in the sky. I'm getting chemtrails. I'm seeing the vibrations in the clouds. So, and I'm not joking. I'm a pilot and everything. So how will you know the difference between when a fake, let's just say the fake, because you know more about religion than I do about the Bible, but how will you know how to differentiate? Because if they let us starve and a bunch of us die off, what you're going to do? And they're going to release some chemicals or, infectants that kill us, and we're going to come begging. How will we know and get chipped? How will we know, like, who to believe?
Okay, and so that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. And so it's a lot. It's not as easy to answer in one simple sentence as So basically, how will you know, and how will you have a little basic understanding? And that goes to, and what this is my belief on the fact that the Bible mentions that, if Christ is the shepherd, and the flock, his people, his children, his called out one, his chosen ones are the sheep of his pasture. He references the fact that his sheep will know his voice. And so having a relationship with Christ now, and also having his spirit inside of you, will give you some discernment to where God, I believe, will make sure that you are able to discern his voice, his leading, his promptings from anything happening around you, because I think it'll be something on the inside. And so that's where it gets complicated, because it boils down to just more than just religion. This is about relationship.
I understand.
And so if you have a relationship,
that's really good, Mike. That's really good.
Thank you. So ultimately, it's about, I believe the best place is to A, accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, and then B, get into his word, which gives you an explanation as to what you can expect him to do on your behalf and what you can expect for your future. So, but that's in a nutshell. Relationship. It's about relationship.
Great job. And right off the hip, you had to pull that right off the hip. That's very impressive.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, my friend.
Thank you to all your listeners. And let's all get together, and we're all on the same side, and we love each other.
Good all right, my friend. Thanks, Tim. Have a good evening, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
you
too,
Mike.
Bye. Yeah, man, that's real talk there, man. I appreciate the question there, and definitely that's a spiritual element there. And so, as always, I'm gonna end it right there, because this has been a long evening. I feel like I have 2 streams going on or whatnot, but it's been great having everybody join us this evening. Hope you guys were informed, enlightened, and I saw a lot of activity in the chat, a lot of back and forth there. So a lot of people are definitely doing their thing there. So as always, people, if you're online, if you're watching still, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button, because what that does is it allows other people to recognize what we got going on over here, and it perhaps can bring them into the fold to where they can get educated and become a part of the community, and basically wake up and unplug from this matrix we're in. And then other than that, be safe, be blessed. As always, people, make sure you guys subscribe, share this video if you found it informative, and more importantly, come back tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's have this conversation again. And more importantly, I'm assuming that I'm not sure what time the actual speech is going to be tomorrow from the White House, so I might jump on after that, depending on what time it is, and do a little Q&A, and we can talk about a little bit and see what nuggets he drops in reference to some names he calls out and some agendas he's going to put out there. So other than that, people, be safe, be blessed, and see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully after the live stream from our president. So peace, good night, be blessed.